ओंटारियो ਵੱਲੋਂ जल्द ही यह लाजमी किया जाएगा कि लॉन्ग टर्म केयर स्टाफ सपोर्ट वर्कर्स ते वलंटियर्स नवंबर के मध्य तक कोविड-19 खिलाफ पूरी तरह वैक्सीनेशन करवा लैण। इस संबंध विच मंत्री रोड फिलिप्स ने ऐलान करदिआं आख्या कि जे इन्हां सारियां वल्लों 15 नवंबर तक वैक्सीनेशन नहीं करवाई जाती जां मैडिकल छूट का सबूत नहीं दिता जाता तां उन्हां नूं काम लई लॉन्ग टर्म केयर अंदर दाखल नहीं होण दिता जावेगा।
Throughout the pandemic, the health and safety of Ontarians has remained our government's top priority. And the evidence shows that the best way to protect ourselves and each other is by getting vaccinated. This is especially true when it comes to our most vulnerable, including those living in long-term care. That is why our government has taken many steps to increase vaccination rates for long-term care residents and staff. And with essentially all residents and 86% of staff fully immunized, we've been making good progress. These actions have included providing educational materials and information resources to homes, arranging on-site and mobile vaccine clinics, and providing homes with support so that they can administer vaccines themselves in a timely manner. In addition, Ontario was the first province in Canada to make it mandatory for homes to have an immunization policy in place for staff, students, and volunteers. This policy came into effect on July the 1st. As part of this policy, homes were required to track and report their overall staff immunization rates to the ministry on a monthly basis. When we look at that data, we see that there has been some improvement in staff immunization rates, but it is not enough to ensure residents are protected. We're able to see some wide variations between homes. Currently, 367 of the 626 homes have staff immunization levels below 90%. And more concerningly, 99 homes have a rate below 80%. We want to protect all long-term care residents and all staff, regardless of which home they live or work in. And the evidence shows in long-term care settings, these rates are not acceptable, especially in the context of the Delta variant, which is more transmissible and more likely to lead to serious death or illness. We know that long-term care residents have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, and as new variants continue to spread, the risk to those most vulnerable remains high.
पिछलियां म्यूनसिपल चोणां दौरान टोरंटो ਦੀ ਸਿਟੀ ਕਾਉਂਸਲ ਦਾ ਆਕਾਰ ਘਟਾ ਕੇ ਅੱਧਾ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਓਂਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਸਰਵਉੱਚ ਅਦਾਲਤ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਬਰਕਰਾਰ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। 4 ਦੇ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ 5 ਵੋਟਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਰੀ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਇਸ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਪਰੀਮ ਕੋਰਟ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੇ ਪਾਇਆ ਕਿ ਓਂਟਾਰੀਓ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡਗਫੋਰਡ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤਬਦੀਲੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਉਮੀਦਵਾਰਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਵੋਟਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਪ੍ਰਗਟਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਅਧਿਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਲੰਘਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ।
We put this forward because we had genuinely held views that, in particular, this was done wrong. It was in the middle of an election without consultation. That didn't strike me, and still doesn't, as the right way to go about very significant changes to our democratic process and our democratic institutions.
As far as the majority of the Supreme Court is concerned, provinces can do whatever they want as long as the provincial government has been properly elected.
That's the part that saddens me, is that effective representation, that the city made the argument to the Supreme Court, effective representation will be limited by their change that Ford made is actually true.
A province really should respect the rights of a citizen to be able to predict how an election is going to unfold once it has started, and should be able to have a predictable and comfortable dialogue with its municipality and all of its candidates. And that was taken away from them.
This decision has implications well beyond Toronto, because the Ford government at Queen's Park could say, oh, we're not going to have elections in any Ontario municipality. After all, who needs more politicians?
ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਹੈਲਥ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਈਸਟ ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਦੇ 2 ਪੋਲਿੰਗ ਸਟੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਉਣ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਦੇ ਲੱਛਣਾਂ ਦਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਰੱਖਣ ਲਈ ਆਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਪੋਲ ਵਰਕਰਸ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੋਏ ਐਕਸਪੋਜ਼ਰ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ ਹਦਾਇਤਾਂ ਜਾਰੀ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਆਖਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਲੱਛਣ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆਉਣ ਤਾਂ ਲੋੜ ਪੈਣ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਟੈਸਟ ਵੀ ਕਰਵਾਇਆ ਜਾਵੇ।
most Albertans want our councillors to represent our constituency, the issues that we are dealing with, and we don't want those other things to be involved. Third-party advertisers who have enormous spending limits to contribute to the election, so that their endorsements can make a difference in in a municipal campaign. That the provincial government was horning in on a municipal election by putting in a bunch of provincial issues on a referendum ballot and on the Senate election. 57 out of 61 school boards are refusing to pilot the draft K-6 curriculum. And there are a number of people running for school trustees who want to be on those school boards who might want to turn things a different direction.
ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਦੀ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਚਿੰਤਾਜਨਕ ਬਣਦੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਕਾਰਨ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਪੈਟੀ ਹਜਦੂ ਨੇ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਕੋਰੋਨਾ ਦੀ ਚੌਥੀ ਲਹਿਰ ਨਾਲ ਜੂਝ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਕਾਰਨ ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਰਮਡ ਫੋਰਸਿਸ ਅਤੇ ਰੈੱਡ ਕਰਾਸ ਟੀਮਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਇਨਾਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ।
Currently, the federal government is providing support to a number of areas of the country. In the Northwest Territories with RFAs that include the Canadian Red Cross and the Canadian Armed Forces assisting with health and human resources and in shelter operations. We're also in a number of provinces assisting with surge contact tracing support, and these are resources that can be accessed from StatsCan. We're providing funding for the operation of safe and voluntary isolation facilities in many sites across the country. And we are supporting with testing with the National Microbiology Lab and a few other federal labs that are helping with any surge capacity. And as has been previously reported, we are providing offers of assistance in our discussions with Saskatchewan and Alberta for health human resources, PPE, medical equipment, vaccines, testing, and anything else. As confirmed last night by my colleague Minister Blair, the Canadian Red Cross and Canadian Armed Forces will be assisting soon in Alberta, and I'm pleased to hear support from Newfoundland and Labrador will also be accepted. Officials in my department and over at Procurement Services Canada will continue to work with both provinces on their requests. As I indicated to my ministerial counterparts provincially, it's very important that we plan ahead for these challenging scenarios, as some types of help are easier to coordinate than others. For example, vaccines, test kits, personal protective equipment, medical equipment, and other things can usually be moved within 24 to 48 hours. But it's health and human resources. That's where the crunch really is, because of course these are people and it takes time to figure out how we can move them around and get them to where they're needed. And the more time that we have to do that, the easier it is to deploy people if and when the time comes that they are necessary. So we all have a role to help with this fourth wave. And of course, the most effective way is to get vaccinated. If you haven't been vaccinated yet, or you have someone in your life who isn't vaccinated yet and is hesitant,
ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਗਵਰਨਰ ਗੈਵਿਨ ਨਿਊਸਮ ਨੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਧੱਕੇਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਰੋਕਣ ਅਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਆ ਪ੍ਰਦਾਨ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਉਦੇਸ਼ ਨਾਲ ਕਈ ਬਿੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਦਸਤਖਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਬਦੀਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਸਟੇਟ ਨੂੰ ਦੁਰਵਿਵਹਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਬੈਚ ਹਟਾਉਣ, ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਘੱਟੋ-ਘੱਟ ਉਮਰ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਉਣ ਅਤੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਸ਼ਾਸਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਸੁਧਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਕਦਮ ਚੁੱਕਣ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ।
Who got this school district back open, got our kids back in the classroom, and I think you've just done it masterfully, and I want to just congratulate you and your team for doing that. Now we have to make sure that our kids and our teachers and paraprofessionals and the entire school community continues to be safe. And the way that we do that is by getting everyone vaccinated, by making sure that our teachers and paraprofessionals are vaccinated, by making sure that parents who are coming into the schools are vaccinated, and making sure that our kids are vaccinated. And it is very exciting that we are looking at moving toward down to 5 years old in the near future, and we need to make sure that all of our kids are vaccinated. This is just such a huge stressor for parents. My youngest nephew just turned 12 earlier this week, and he was so excited to get his shot, as he put it to me, so I can finally start to do things. But it was very stressful for my sister and brother-in-law to have their child in school who could not be vaccinated because he was too young. And as we get the expansion of what kids can be vaccinated, we need to make sure they are vaccinated. I want to thank the governor for his extraordinary leadership throughout this pandemic, as we are showing in California, having the lowest infection rate in the country. Science matters, and it matters when we have leaders who believe in science, who believe in vaccinations, and who understand that we have to take a public health approach to this pandemic and to stop politicizing it as has happened with some governors in other states. So I feel very fortunate that we have a governor who believes so deeply in science. And the governor does have a partner in the legislature. The legislature has shown over and over again that we are willing to pass strong vaccination laws. And if we have to come back and do it again next year, we will do that. And we have a group of senators and assembly members who are meeting regularly and talking to the administration, and we will keep up our end of the bargain to be a good partner to the governor. So with that, it's an honor to welcome up our governor. I'm so honored that he's doing this, making this announcement in San Francisco, our great leader, Governor Gavin Newsom.